that's actually the first day.
Good morning internet and hello from the beautiful city of Kandy. The weather looks great today and is perfect to go and visit what seems to be the most bizarre structure that was ever built here on the island. Something so unusual it could be right out of a science fiction movie, or simply made by aliens. But no, it is man-made, built out of white cement and spiraling towards the clouds as it wants to pierce the sky. Come join me and let together experience the vertigo of Sri Lanka's most unique monument of modern times. First I will drive from here in Kandy towards the town of Gampola where the tower is located. The ride should take me a bit more than 1 hour for the nearly 30 kilometers of scenic road. And since both of the cities and its surrounding areas are full of interesting historical facts, let me dive a bit into these details while I am driving towards the special tower everybody talks about. Who thought about this? Despite Sri Lanka's driving civilization with roots that can be traced back to the 6th century before Christ, the central region here remained largely unaffected by the pulsating civilizations of the nearby northern neighboring cities of Anuradhapura and Polonnaruwa. It was only around the 13th century Anno Domini, when the town of Gampola entered the dominant historical narrative with the emergence of its Gampola Kingdom, that this area became historically relevant. And Gampola, the ancient polity located near to Kandy here in the central province, is actually the town I am going to today to see the tower. Gampola also was once the capital city of the island of Sri Lanka, and this was during the reign of King Buwanekabahu IV, who ruled for 4 years in the mid-14th century. King Buwanekabahu IV was the son of King Vijayabahu V and ascended the throne after his father. He then shifted the capital with the support of General Senalankadikara, from the city of Kurunegala to the town of Gampola. After his death, his brother King Parakramabahu V, who reigned from 1353 to 59, ascended the throne and moved from Dedagama to Gampola too. He was then dethroned by King Vikramabahu III, who was the son of King Buwanekabahu IV, and sent into exile to Malaya, which during the 14th century was in the possession of the Hindu Majapahit Empire. King Vikramabahu III then conveyed the tooth relic to Gampola and held a festival in honor of this sacred relic. He built a shrine at Nyamgampaya in Gampola, the rock temple named Gadaladiniya Viharaya. Meanwhile, a general called Alagakanara became more powerful than the king as he helped to defeat Araya Chakravarti, a Tamil ruler who had grabbed the throne of the northern country. The last king of Gampola was King Buwanekabahu V, and he ruled the island for an unusually long period of 29 years. At the same time, King Wirabaha II was ruling the kingdom of Rigama, which was located in south-central Sri Lanka. And he was reigning from the year of 1392 to 97. Then there was also King Vijayabahu VI, who was reigning from the year of 1397 to 1411. Suddenly in the year of 1411, then King Vijayabahu VI decided in an unfriendly move to grab the throne from King Wirabaha II. Needless to say that the Chinese ambassador admiral and navigator Zheng He of the Ming dynasty, who was between the year of 1405 to 1433 a frequent visitor to Sri Lanka, was very unhappy with the change of hands. And so in return Admiral Zheng He then banned King Vijayabahu VI from Sri Lanka and swiftly carried him off to China in the same year. And that was the end of the Gampola Kingdom.
That must have been the train from Nuwara coming into Kandy. I think so. Oh. Okay.
The next kingdom was then to rise in Kotte with its new capital city of Kotte, which was building on the foundation of the noble man known as Nisanka Alagakanara. Shortly thereafter the town of Kanda appeared in the annals of the history books. During these times Kanda was a small town in the central highland of Sri Lanka and located at an elevation of around 500 meters above the sea level and conveniently nestled on the Mahaweli River. The historic city of Kanda, which then became known as Kandy, carries a relatively short but very rich past, as it was the last great capital city of the Sinhalese monarchy. The kingdom and its capital lasted from the year 1469 into the year of 1818. By the way, if you are also wondering how the city of Kandy got its name, I learned that it came from the Sinhala term Kanda, which translates to mountain, due to its geographical location. Which makes sense. As per historical records, Kandy was first established by King Vikramabahu and dates back to the year of 1476. The kingdom of Kandy was first commanded as a semi-independent kingdom, with the main reigning kingdom being the Kotte kingdom. Still, the location of the Kandian kingdom was advantageous due to its formidable natural fortress consisting of thick jungle-covered mountains that surrounded the city. So later on Kandy became an independent kingdom with many great rulers in the years that came by. And it was during the rule of King Rajasingha II, also known as Sri Veera Parakrama Narendra Singha of Kandy, who was the youngest ruler of Kandy at that time, that the Portuguese first attempted to capture the kingdom city of Kandy. The Battle of Ganaroa took place with equally the same numbers of soldiers on both sides. However, the Portuguese faced a complete defeat with only 33 of their soldiers remaining alive. And that was out of the approximately 900 they sent into the battle. Unfortunately, Sri Veera Parakrama Narendra Singha was the last real Sinhalese ruler in Kandy and Sri Lanka. The next king that took over the Kandy kingdom was a prince from the Madurai Nayak dynasty and the brother-in-law of Sri Vijaya Raja Singha, which was a descending family from the southern Indian lineage called the Nayakar dynasty. And so the new king of Kandy was none other than Kirti Sri Rajasingha, and he is known to have revived Buddhism in Sri Lanka as he was guided by a monk named Weluwita Sri Saranankara Thero. And with the help of the Dutch he managed to get ordained monks from the land of Siam to help invigorate higher ordination of Buddhist monks here in Sri Lanka. Moreover, King Kirti Sri Rajasingha also initiated and oversaw the construction of the inner temple of the Tooth Relic in Kandy and the Raja Maha Viharaya as well. The last king of Sri Lanka was Sri Vikrama Rajasingha, and he completed the construction of the Sri Dalada Malagawa, also known as the Temple of the Tooth. Furthermore, he also initiated the construction of the Kandy Lake, also known as Kiri Muhuda or the Sea of Milk, which took 7 years to build, with the intention to enhance the beauty of the city and provide a recreational space for the king and his courtiers. Moreover, he was a very devoted Buddhist, making many sacrifices to the sacred tooth relic and donated even more land to increase the size of the temple. Unfortunately, this was also one of the darkest times in the history of Sri Lanka's politics of betrayal. It was the evil time when most of his ministers began to conspire against King Sri Vikrama Rajasingha, and this brought about the fall of the greatest kingdom of Sri Lanka. That was once known as Sankadagala, or the Kingdom of the Mountain. To advance the king's downfall, perhaps in the belief that they can earn some personal benefits from the Brits, the Sinhalese ministers continued to provide the British invaders with the information the Brits wanted, and finally also signed the Kandian Convention against the king, as well as giving their vote for the British to take control of the Kandian kingdom. The zenith of this travesty of betrayal then unfolded on the 14th of February in the year of 1815, when King Sri Vikrama Rajasingha was captured by the British, and then sent as a convict into exile to the city of Madurai on the Vaigai River in the South Indian state of Tamil Nadu. This very unfortunate and tragic event of high treason executed by the king's own corrupt ministers is known as the greatest conspiracy that ever happened to a royal king of their own in the history of Ceylon. Sadly, after this high treason act by the Sinhalese ministers and the seizure of Kandy by the British, the life for the Kandian people as well as for the whole of the native people of Sri Lanka began to deteriorate very swiftly. However, the Kandian made up their strong minds and continued to fight the Brits for over 133 years, and tried to regain their freedom and independence from the conquerors. It finally became true at the end of the Second World War in the year of 1948 when Sri Lanka gained its independence and freedom from British rule once again.
Look at this. Well, let's see how far I can drive up. Yeah, quite some switchbacks here, eh? Let's see how it goes from here.
So now it is enough of the history lessons, as by now I just arrived at the park entrance.
Good morning.
Morning.
How it goes from here?
You need to buy ticket here.
Okay.
You can park right here.
Okay.
Then you
How
can
much
buy
is the ticket?
One person 1,000. But there is a little bit problem. You can go by your bicycle by halfway.
Halfway.
Yeah. Then you have to park it right before.
But I can see the parking sign.
Yeah.
And then from there I walk.
Yeah. You have to walk 1 kilometer and 200 meters from.
Who is helping me walking?
You have to walk by alone.
Okay, okay.
Because of the safety issues.
Ah, is it? Okay. Okay, bye.
And holy moly, I am stunned and have to admit that since the recording of this clip, the entrance fee for foreigners seems to have doubled to the price of 2,000 Sri Lankan rupees, so don't blame me. But somehow the prices for foreigners here on this lovely island is getting really out of control. Anyway, now I am driving up the hill and I feel lucky that I have my scooter with me, as I can see tourists and locals going by foot and trying to conquer this winding and nearly ridiculously steep and sometimes almost vertical road that is stretching like a serpent up the hill for more than 2 kilometers. Some tourists even pay a very high amount to be taken up here on a tuk-tuk, and with others even try to conquer this road up here by their own cars. However, God forbid to even think of what might happen in any case of a possible brake failure that easily could occur here. And trust me, my fears are not without reasons, as at some point I really could see that some of the tuk-tuks are struggling going further up the hill with his fully loaded tuk-tuk. Some driver was even asking his passengers to alight and help him to push or just walk alongside, as it was too much for the tuk-tuk to climb some of these very sharp and hairpin curves.
These landslides. Me with myself on the bike doesn't have enough power, so how about 2 person? That is like going nowhere with this kind of scooter. And that that's 125cc, huh? Is incredible already. I mean, just beautiful. Oh. Don't tell me we have a cloudy hilltop. That would be sad.
Wow, I finally reached the motorbike parking area, after what seemed like an infinity of serpentine bends. It is here where we foreigners and even some of the local drivers must park our bikes. And once again I have been assured that this is due to safety concerns, as the final leg ahead seems to be even more scary and hair-raising to drive. And yes, the guards did not joke, as the remaining 1+ kilometers from the bike parking to the base of the tower was not less than adventures to walk up to. On this stretch the climbing angle of the road seems to be easily exceeding the 30 to 35% angle of climb or descent that is deemed safe for any normal vehicles. And so I really feel relieved that I walked this last part up by myself. Now arriving at the actual park entrance up here on the top and looking upwards, I can only say that I am speechless, as words make it difficult to describe how strange of a spire the Ambuluwawa Tower is. I am at the moment so shocked that all I can see is a towering white foundation that is splaying outwards as it grows upwards, and finally is being crowned by a twisted conch shell cone that seems to pierce the sky. Adding on to my worrying feeling is the atypical and not really safe-looking spiraling staircase that is clinging precariously to the side of the tower and climbing up to its unusual elongated spire-shaped tip, and making the whole structure looking rather alien and very much like something out of this world. From down here and on my second look, the Ambuluwawa Tower looks almost impossibly high with its tiny narrow staircases that is clinging to the outside of the tower. And I suddenly feel that it seems to be a very insane and ridiculous task for me to be climbing this monster, as my only protection will be a very low railing that is separating me from success or demise. Now I have to admit that the tower is set within a nice and unusual multi-faith temple complex of worship. The garden is featuring a little mosque, an ornate church, a small Hindu temple and a Buddhist shrine that is just placed peacefully next to each other and arranged around a central fountain, which is indeed a very unusual sight and very refreshing and calming. I guess that is just what I need now to overcome my fears of climbing up the stairs. Also, the view from here at the base of the tower is really amazing, with a spectacular sight over the town of Gampola and its surrounding hills. We are actually already so high up that some of the clouds have been below our viewpoint, and I have not even reached the very top yet. But wait, stretching out my neck and looking back to the tower, I suddenly realized that I now need to get going and climb up to the top of the tower, or however far up I feel safe to go. However, by entering the tower here at the base, my confidence already dropped quite a bit for the coming climb. The structure does not look well maintained, the entrance is rather damp. The interior is sewed with cracked tiles on the floor and on the steps, and the whole building is calling for an urgently needed renovation. Well, anyway, let's continue going up. The initial stairs covering the first 3 floors here in the beige-colored tower basement are quite okay, and the ascent is comfortable. After this short and uneventful climb reaching the surrounding tower's actual main terrace, I finally can say another wow, as the view seems to get more and more spectacular. After a bit of walking around on the tower terrace and soaking in the breathtaking scenery, I slowly started to realize that the climb on the outside of the tower is a whole new game and nothing for people with acrophobia, which is also known as fear of heights. When on the lower floor, I was in the inside of the building and the staircase was protecting me by an outer wall. From here on upwards it is all of a sudden the opposite. The wall is suddenly on the inside of this very narrow staircase and forcing me to climb up on the outside with only a waist-level high handrail that is separating me from the abyss. Add into the mix are the many people who try to descend from the top, while we are trying to ascend to the top. And passing each other on this narrow staircase required me to shuffling along and clinging to the tower's trunk while we both needed to turn our bodies sideways. Then there are the many uneven steps, some so shallow that my shoes wouldn't fit on them. Normally I don't really struggle with heights, but this tower really pushed me to the edge of my comfort zone. There was something about the low height of the handrail, the vertical drop and the narrowness of the staircase that deep inside me, my conscience suddenly started to dislike the current stage of my situation, and it started to really freaking me out. And as I climbed further up the stairway, I passed this tiny cubbyholes set into the tower's trunk, and I am starting to realize that these are the only places where I could pass the other person. As the staircase is getting even more uncomfortably narrower the more up I go. And finally the staircase got so narrow that I decided to turn around and let go of my initial goal of reaching the very peak of this crazy tower, and give it a miss. Which was undoubtedly the right decision. Even though I didn't reach the very top, I have to admit that the view from near to the top was already simply out of this world. And with mostly blue sky interacting with some fast traversing clouds above and below, it is a spectacle that will stay with me for the rest of my life. And by reaching almost the top of this enormous 50-meter tall Ambuluwawa Tower located here on one of the tallest peaks, towering a good 600 meters over the town of Gampola and positioned at a full 1,100 meters above the sea level, is really a very impressive and amazing feeling. Even I must admit that I was terrified to cling like a frightened animal to the trunk edge of this tiny staircase that is in need of urgent repair work. But in conclusion, it was well worthwhile facing my fears and excitement, which is unlike anything I have ever experienced so far. And before I start my return journey to Kandy, let's visit the newly opened Java Lounge for a delicious coffee amidst the beautiful scenery surrounding the Ambuluwawa Tower and biodiverse nature reserve, located just at the park entrance. And here is, as I mentioned it before, the very nice and unusual garden featuring the Multifaith Temple complex of worship that is including a mosque, a church, a Hindu temple and a Buddhist shrine. And all is placed peacefully next to each other and set perfectly around the central fountain, which is very unique and also exceptionally calming.
And these switchbacks. Reminds me of the roads in Switzerland. School hours. Where? Here? Okay.
I am now well back for a little break at the Primrose Bungalows before I will continue to explore Sri Dalada Malagawa, which is better known as the Temple of the Sacred Tooth Relic. The Primrose Guest House up here on the hill is virtually a guest house in the clouds. It is built on a cliff in between the 7 unique peaks of the Kandy Hills with an amazing view overlooking one of the valleys. Even it is a 10-minute drive up the hill from the Kandy town, but trust me, it is heaven up here as it is away from the hustle and bustle of the busy city life down there. And as you can witness too, it is well worthwhile to be waking up to this incredible panoramic play of Mother Nature's IMAX competitive spectacle, as seen here right now. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you in my next episode where I will explore the stunning Temple of the Sacred Tooth, which is one of the top world-renowned places of worship, and the place where the sacred left canine tooth of Gautama Buddha is enshrined.